Saturday, let's do the thing. What's up, gang? Can y'all hear me? I can hear me. Ooh, got some oppressive sunlight coming into my studio here. Let me put my shades down here. Much better. Now I save my eye sockets a little bit of trouble here. Okay. Shift wax. Let's do some normal stream health testing stuff, and we can hop into the state of things. Let's do it. All right, here comes my face. Prepare yourselves. What up? Happy Saturday. My name is Mike Bifulco. I am CTO of a company called Craftwork. We are a tech-connected home painting services. In addition to that, I publish a bunch of stuff under my own site, including these live streams, which is what I've got pulled up here, but I also have a newsletter where I write mostly weekly dispatches about things that I'm thinking about with regards to building a company and things of that nature. I'm a longtime developer. I've been building with JavaScript for a long time. I also have experience with Java and C# and Cocoa and PHP and Ruby more recently, and a whole bunch of other things, but for the most part I tend to write with JavaScript and TypeScript. So today I'm going to be building on stream a implementation of Vercel's Open Graph generator. Someone just walked right in front of my window. That was very strange. We're going to be building Open Graph images and dynamic images using Vercel's Open Graph tool Satori, otherwise known as @Vercel/OG. And we'll hop right into it. So the notion of this I kind of teased here is that at Craftwork we have several templates for people that we use for profile pictures and things of that nature. And we, right now, generally speaking, just make these for each of our employees in Figma, which is problematic when an employee wants a new picture, or if we need to generate them at a new size, or if an employee joins the company or leaves the company, something like that. We have to go and create new images like this. We have a handful of different versions of this template that we use, and they start in Figma. They get exported from Figma and uploaded to a CDN, and we use them from there. But my hope today is to do some of this stuff programmatically so that we can generate pictures of people and use this sort of template to feed in some metadata about the person and go from there. So I think this will be kind of a challenging one for a few reasons, but we'll start with a quick demo of how this all works. Okay, so what I've done is I've set up my own repo, which I should freshen a branch with. Let's see, we'll do main. We're going to call it feature/Satori images. Great. Okay, so all I've done here so far is I've added some fonts. I've added a package, Vercel OG with Yarn, which just finished here. There's 3 fonts which we might use along the way here. I have a modification to an existing file. This was another project which we can ignore for today. Actually, maybe what I'll do is I'll stage this and stash it. Stash, staged, work in progress. This is for another stream. We'll do video. What is that called? Data embed. Fine, good enough. That's where my brain's at today. So here's the dream. This is what we hope to do is basically build out a way to generate these images. No, I don't need to modify my lock file. Thank you. We're going to generate these images with code. And so how does that work? Well, let me open that up. OG/index in my site here. So this is a Next.js site, which means it's also a Next.js pages router site. I'm not using the app router on this site yet, but we could get into that if we really wanted to demonstrate how that works. I have a API route called OG for Open Graph, and then this swatch thing, which will be the first demo I show here, which has an index.tsx, which takes a bunch of params, so URL params, and turns them into an image. These are used for a couple of things on our site, but primarily this is, we're a painting company. We send an email to customers before we arrive at their project to let them know, like, hey, here's the summary of what we're doing. Here's all the colors we're painting, the rooms we're painting them, the team that'll show up, what time we'll be there, things like that. And so in so doing, we send an email like this. I'm going to take these from my lovely comment and put them into a single string, which isn't too hard to do. So we'll make a little URL out of this, and I'm going to replace RGB with just a random hex color code. We'll comment that out because I'm sure I'll use this a bunch of times. And if I run my site with dev, on localhost 3000, we now get my site locally. Again, you'll see this bar at the top. I'm using the Arc browser, which might not be familiar to everyone, but it's basically a Chrome browser made for developers. Now if I go to /API/swatch and then feed in those parameters that I just created, let me zoom in. I guess that doesn't zoom in on the browser itself. But if I feed in those parameters, I have stumbled upon a bad URL. OG swatch, API OG swatch. This will generate, for me, a little swatch, a color swatch. And what's going on here is, this is just the simple version of the swatch. So actually this one really only uses a color, a height, a width, a scale, and a border radius. So let's say, for example, I wanted to make this thing wider. It's 88 now by 40. We'll make it 88 by 88. This should make it a square. There we go. So I'm providing parameters to determine the size of this thing. This is wildly simple and just takes a little bit of debuggery to get into. And I'll show you kind of the things that I built to make this work. So we have, oh, look at that, a little console log left in there. There's a couple of things that we do. So this is a Next app pages router serverless function handler. I think that's how you would say that. This function generates simple paint swatch fires when this route lands, because it's the default export. And when it lands, oh, look at that. Image response. Maybe I haven't imported that. Who knows? I have some type settings. No, I did import it. We can ignore it for now, but gap 4 is unknown. That's fun. All right, so when this function fires, we do a bunch of extraction first. So we grab the search params from the URL, and if I do a console.log and then search params, yeah, we'll do it that way. Search params, we will see on a refresh here, we get search params, and then all of the params that came in. So the hex value, the height, the width, the scale, and these are in kind of a funny format. It's a URL search param that comes out of this, which is a fancy object, basically a built-in web API. And we can use this search params feature to extract search parameters that come in, which is what these next lines of code are doing. So search params.get will pull the value associated with hex, which was FFCCEE. And so we get hex, height, width, scale, and border radius. And then I'm passing them to this parse param and parse int param that I've created, which do a couple of things. So parse param first makes sure that if it's null, we return a blank string. We also handle the case where it's an array. Because URLs are a lawless hellscape, you could technically provide multiple heights. So I could do and height equals 11, and height equals 12, or I could do and height equals 11, 12, 13, right? You can provide all sorts of things in URLs. And so they're not type safe because anyone can send any sort of URL. So we're just doing some basic fallback stuff here and saying, if for some reason one of these params comes in as an array, just grab the first thing in that param at index 0 of the array and feed that back. So this is like getting rid of the case where it might be null or an array. And then I have parse int param, which also wraps that, which we're using to say, okay, get rid of the null or the array values. If nothing comes in, then return null, which we might actually, well, no, that's okay. So if for some reason the parse param doesn't come back, we will return nothing here. And the purpose of this function is to extract a number. So we now take the string that we've got and try and parse a base 10 integer out of it and return a number. So in cases where I'm looking for a number for the height, the width, the scale, and the border radius, we run this parse int param, which will further refine those things. Now, we could also simplify this. So if I really wanted to refactor these things, I could make a const, something like parse int param, and then just type in hex. And use this thing to maybe pass in a request, hex and request, right? And do all of this work where I pull out search params and all that. But it's a fairly simple function. I think there's not a ton of need for further refinement here. So we've now logged this out, which on the console we will see. Let me clear this bad boy out. I'm gonna get rid of some of the old consoles I have here. Okay, so we will see hex, height, width, and scale every time this thing runs. Actually, border radius we could jam in there too. If I hit that, we get hex, height, width, and scale, and maybe we'll put in border radius. So a bunch of things that I feed in here, which are all used for generating this thing. I'll get into this stuff in a minute, but ultimately what's happening here is and something in here is unhappy. It thinks one of these things is an any, which I like the idea of, because I thought I parsed all these things super well. That's a string, that's a number. What could be an any in here? Base width, number, base height, number, scale multiplier, number. Okay, well, let's do it. Let's start by trying to make the parser happy. Is it image response? Let's restart my TS server. This is one of the problems of modern tooling when you try and plumb type safety through, is that you kind of get these sorts of issues. It actually seems like ESLint is freaking out about that. And that maybe seemed to do the trick, restarting my ESLint stuff, which, if you haven't seen that trick before, I have a thing written up about it for, let's see, steps I take to fix stubborn TypeScript errors in VS Code. The long and short of it is that I restart shit. So restart the TypeScript, restart the TypeScript process and the ESLint process. So we'll restart TS server, and wow, it looks like I actually have the wrong screenshot here. That's funny. I can go fix that later. Okay, so ultimately what this thing is doing is it's returning some markup, right? This is web markup, HTML, that looks a little funny, and then it passes that into this image response thing, which is created by Vercel OG. And this image response essentially wraps web stuff in a canvas and turns that canvas into an image. So we're passing in normal HTML, and in this case, I'm creating a div that has a full width and full height. So this is saying take up the full width of its container. The container will be the size that we provide to this image response thing. We're telling it it's a flex and it has no margin, but that really doesn't matter for this thing. We're then saying assign its background to pound symbol and then whatever came in for hex, which is the hex color code. Then the scaled size in pixels of the border radius, and the scaled size in pixels of the border is supplied as well. Getting back to those, what that means is that I'm providing a scale here. So we might input that I want something that's 88 tall and 40 wide, but I'm actually spitting it out at 4x that height for complicated resolution reasons. So there are many I guess factors that feed into this, but because some monitors have such high resolution, they essentially compact 4 pixels into one, for lack of a better way to explain it. And so at 4x is kind of like a native resolution for many browsers. What I found is rendering text without this size multiplier will cause the text to look pixelated in many cases. So we're spitting out an image that is actually 4 times as high and wide as we expect it to. And that handles the case of hyper retina monitors, or whatever the hell Apple is calling it these days. And all we've done here is scaled that up using a little bit of math, saying like, okay, give me a scale multiplier, which is either 4 or the default, so there's 4 or whatever they've input. And then we're generating a string that looks like 16px. So we're making something like that. So pass me in a number, 16, and we will basically input here. I'll do it like this. Input of 4 becomes 16px. So we pass in a number 4, we multiply it by the scale thing, and we spit out this CSS-friendly string. That string then becomes the border radius or the border width or whatever we put into here. So this is really just a very simple way to generate a colored square, but it's a simple place to start with this. So I could replace this FFCCEE with some other numbers, right? I can change the R's, the G's, and the B's and make this thing 1F, right? All kinds of different colors. We have a fixed border color in this case because of essentially a design requirement that I had. So we want to go from here and do something a little more complicated. And let's start in on that. So I'm going to generate we'll call this one profile picture or maybe headshot. We'll go with that. We're going to make an index.tsx. So this is the thing that will fire when we hit API, actually API OG in headshot, that's fine. Okay, in here we're going to create a handler. So actually I wonder how far we could get with Copilot on this. Create Next.js API endpoint handler for the pages router called headshot image. Hey, not too bad. Oh, dang it, I always do that. Create a Next.js API endpoint handler for the pages router called headshot image. Actually, while I'm thinking of it, I'm going to zoom in a bit here. It's like prettier is giving me some heartache right now. Lovely. Hopefully you can see a little better. Let's retry that. It did so good the first time. There we go. Okay, let's see how far we can get here. We'll do extract a color code, a string called hex from the URL search params. See what we got there. It's really hard to tell what it's doing for me here. Yeah, okay. That's great. Called name from URL search params. We're just going to see how far we can get with nice. Okay, this is actually pretty cool. So name is probably not the best word to use here. Yeah, we can leave that. That's all right. Okay, we've printed those out. What we're going to generate here, maybe I should show that next, is something that looks like this. So we have two templates here. One is something that is my headshot with the background extracted, put onto a colored circle at a certain size and sort of clipped by that circle. That'll be an interesting challenge. And then superimposed with text on the bottom here, or alongside some text on the top here. The next part of that is to choose the size of these things. So we're going to start there. So let's go pull from the swatch thing. The return type is a new image response. So we're going to grab this guy. Instead of doing this, we'll return a new image response. This needs a parameter that is height and width. And we'll start with 150 because I forgot what it was already. We'll import this image response from for sale OG. And this is actually a bit of TSX. We don't need the response here. We'll pull that out. And this is mad at me for not importing that as a type. Great. And so here we're just going to spit out a div. Let's start with a div with a rectangle background. So we're going to do div, and then we'll do TW equals. This is a way of passing Tailwind classes into this thing. We're going to do hfull W full BG red, just to show that this is working. And we'll just slash div, and I'm going to put in a paragraph here that says hello world. Okay. Let this thing format. And sometimes prettier really gets hung up on my machine. Also, it doesn't seem to work. That didn't format. There we go. Hit save again. It worked. Okay. So this should give me a div of this height and width, 150, which we actually want 320. We're going to double that. So 320, 320, and it should have a square with a red background. If I go to API OG headshot with no parameters. Ooh, API route return a response object in the Node.js runtime. This is not supported. So we have to export a config here where we say runtime or edge. And what does it look like? We export the config. This is telling the thing that we want to use the edge runtime here, which I tend to put it here before the headshot image. I'm sure that doesn't matter a ton, but failed 2-pipe response, I think that's okay. We might need to restart this guy. Ooh. Ooh. That ain't good. Failed 2-pipe response. Let's see, what might I be missing in this config here? Some markup, a size, a return statement, a handler. It all looks right to me so far. There's not a ton that goes into this, but something is going wrong here. Clear. Oh, wow, okay. Ah, I see, expected a div to have explicit flat display flex or display none. So we'll do flex. There we go, there's my hello world div. The background didn't work, which is kind of funny. Okay. We need a fallback for that hex, so we'll do green, and actually we're going to give it red. So there's a red one with some text in it, and we'll do style equals color. Ooh, my brush door just opened. I don't know what that's all about. We'll see in a minute. Give this guy a white color to start. That's not what I wanted. Style equals color. I knew something looked off there. There we go, just like that. Ooh, I stumbled upon a bad URL. What did I do there? So I have found that the most complex and maybe annoying thing about configuring this is that debugging it is not great. But there's a couple of tools I have on hand for that. So let's look it up. Vercel/OG has a really nice playground. Google Vercel/OG. We can come into here. They have a great playground, which is a nice place to start with this. And truly, I'm just going to copy my markup into there, like this. And we'll call this 300 or 320, 320. Hex is not defined. Instead of doing that, we'll say there we go. So now we get a red square. We don't have a variable called name, so we're going to say Mike. Justify, and then so we'll do items and justify. And not all of the Tailwind classes work, but many of them do. We don't need an emoji provider. Cool, cool. It's also nice that you can export these as SVG. Are we on version 0 of Satori when there's many versions since? That's an annoying thing about the playground. Maybe there's a pull request that can be submitted here. Playground. Yeah, anyway. The playground is a really nice place to poke around with things. I actually didn't notice until truly just now that it seems to be on an old version of things. No, I see they have some aspect ratio stuff here. That's nice. Debug mode gives us a nice printout there. So let's spit my markup into here again. There we go. Get some. That doesn't seem to do anything. Justify self and yeah, I'm not too great with my Tailwind classes off the top of it, but so the idea from here is basically that we want to configure this as a little bit of HTML to get into it. What I think is a useful way to prototype these is to actually build the thing as a React component and then back into it as a Satori output, because the debug process can be a little hit or miss. So let's get into that. We're going to do that in, we'll make a test page for it. Pages, we'll do new file, and we'll do test/satori.tsx. And we'll do const Satori test page equals. Okay. And here's what I'm going to do is just grab my code here. We'll do these guys, and we're going to set some dumb values for hex. And name Satori. Cool, why not? And then we'll do container, just so that it looks nice. Get it stacked in the middle of the page there. We'll import some things. Oh, let me just steal from a typical post layout. Forgot I live in the Tailwind world now. Most of these things aren't fully componentized yet. Okay. Sweet. All right, let's open up source pages. Satori. Please stumbled upon a bad URL. It's test Satori. Okay. We also need to give this thing a parent with a fixed size. Background of, we'll call it gray here so that we can see what's going on the background there. And oops, we are also going to make this div a block element. Yeah, centered element. One more rearrangement here. There we go. Okay, so this is essentially the parent canvas. We can kind of ignore the rest of my site as the display tool for this now. And we want to make this component as similar to the output as we want as possible. So we're going to, for now, replace TW with class name. We'll have to go back and do that later on. TW is a requirement of the Satori library if you're using Twitter classes. So you'll see in this reset, in this example, to pass in a Twitter class, you have to do TW equals. And most of the the Tailwind class names work. Jumping over to, back to the test page. And let's pull this up alongside the Figma prototype that I want to view. We'll open this here. And we'll start to prototype them next to each other. Hopefully this opens in the browser. Lovely. All right. I always do that wrong. Not this guy, but this guy. Here, please, and then that one. Oh, we've got them side by side. Don't need to sign into things. Okay. There we go. So the hope is to make these two things look alike, which is a little tricky, but we can get there. Okay, let me sign into this real quick. Sign into my Figma account so I can view the damn thing. Thank you, Figma. Okay, what I really want to see is the properties of this thing. Oh no. And my mouse shortcuts are not working in browser Figma like I would want them to. Dismiss. Okay, you know what we can do? Stop trying to get too fancy on it. We can truly just pull up Figma alongside it and do it this way. Lovely. Okay. So, a few things here. We can measure these gaps here. We can start to fill them out. We can make our background circle, right, which is probably an easy thing to do as the next step. So I'm going to start by making my red background white. Where did I do that? Hex, that's this, okay. So this is going to be hex color of the circle. And let's grab that pleasant sort of purplish color. I'm sure there's better ways to do this, but I often just create a rectangle and go and grab the hex code. Okay, and so let's give these an ID equals circle BG. So now it should be not a circle, it'll be a square still, but it'll be the right color. We're going to grab the color used for text in this case, which is this guy, and 6EA7B8. 6EA7B8, hit save. There we go. Looks horrific, but we'll get there. We want to do font bold, font extra bold even. Text 4XL is probably somewhere along the lines of what we want. We'll get that even bigger. We will do uppercase, because that's a requirement. Actually, I might make this white for now, because I truly can't take it with that color yet. We'll get there. All right, we know that we want this guy to have a radius. Full radius rounded full. That's what it's called. Okay. This is again where I did myself a favor by making the background gray, because we know that that's wrong. We'll fix that next. We're going to do M-8 is a guess. Yeah, that looks about right. And actually, we're going to make that P8, not M8, to inset the circle, hopefully. M-8 is definitely what we want, but we need to shrink the circle. So we're going to need another div here. And we'll wrap this like that. And then this is where the M8 is going to be. Actually, this will be, excuse me, P-8. There we go. Now we have an inside circle. We can poke around with whether or not that's actually the right size. I think we might go down to 6. Nice. Nice. So the circle itself is centered. The portrait of the person isn't necessarily centered, but let's get the words sorted next. So for these, we're going to do, we'll give this a relative and see if that breaks anything. So far, no. Then we're going to give the text an absolute. B-8. Ooh, B-8. Is that not what I thought it would do? Bottom 8. Bottom 8. Bottom 8, please. There we go. Justify center. Nope. Line. It might be justify self-center. Let me stop editing over here. Align. Actually, maybe text center will do. And then W full. We don't need justify center. Let's inspect this. Easier to do it in the browser here. It's that padding of 6 that is messing us up. Let's try this with the M6 on the circle. What I'm not fully getting here. Okay, actually I think what we want is for the paragraph to not be a child of the circle, maybe. But we'll get there. Minus L6 should account for that. That's 0. Actually, we can do it that way. There we go. Okay. So that's the full width. We have the words there. We're starting to look like the thing that we want, which is nice. I don't have the right typeface in yet, but we'll get there. The size of the font is 72 point, which does not scale correctly here. So we might need to do this in pixels. Oh, it is pixels, 72 pixels, great. And let's just to be consistent here, actually put in the name in standard formatting. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Bottom 8, definitely too much. There's also a line height, which I think we want 0. Maybe. Actually, it might be leading. So see how we're getting some padding above and below the text in this box? We want to eliminate that. That, I believe, is a result of the leading that comes from Tailwind classes, which I think is line height 108 pixels. Yeah. So we're going to change that to 1 EM. Which should get us better. No. Unset. Does that help? And height 0, 72 pixels. Also not what we want. So interesting. Huh. Don't know what to do about line height. We'll figure that out. But we can tell for certain that the bottom 8 is too much, so we'll do bottom 4. Give it a refresh. We'll do bottom 0. Why not? Go crazy. Okay, let's make our background white, and we're going to put this periwinkle color back in a second here. Looks terrible, but we'll get there. We got to replace a font still. That's okay. We'll do that on the Open Graph side. And now we need to get a picture of me in place. And let's do this two ways. So I'm going to take kind of the cheat easy way out and just grab, I don't know where this headshot of me is any longer, but we're going to export this as a PNG. Love it, Mike Purple. And I'm going to go to remove.bg. Super useful tool for doing this kind of thing. I will drag my headshot in here. Oh, it took my name as well. We didn't want my name in there. Thought I was just exporting this. That's all I want to export. Okay. Let's do it again. Okay. That took out just the clear part. Fine. Now from my downloads, I will pass it through one more time, hopefully get the purple removed. How handy is that? And then we're going to download this, and we're going to use that as the basis for this. So let me just drop this into public images. We'll call it test, and then put a mic.png in there. We're going to start getting that cracked into shape. I'll show you a few things we'll do here. So there's me. We know that we want to, a couple of things actually. We're going to have an image here. We'll send its height and width. We need to import the image component, please. And swing back over to this bad boy. Mike.png? What did I call it? Maybe I didn't rename it. No, I totally didn't. Okay, images test Mike. Not this swatch, this guy. Not the headshot. The Satori test. Okay, that didn't seem to work. Images test, Mike, please. Okay, there's me. We're gonna move this guy up to here just to show that it should, well, yeah, okay. There we go. And just for the sake of it, I'm going to make this too big. Okay, I may actually need to edit this image. I want to show how we'll clip this thing. So let's open it in my favorite tool for editing images, Sketch. See, I use it all the time. We're going to do something really silly and just broaden the background here. So I want to show how we will clip this stuff out of the way. So I'm going to give myself an artificial background here with a fill that will kind of match to the t-shirt. So just assuming that like I had some nightmarish rendering error. Actually, that's kind of a cool headshot too. Damn, wow. It's just that easy, fam. Okay, you know what, and let's, yeah, no, that's great, that's great. Okay, let's export this thing. We'll give it a background. No, we want it to be transparent, so it'll look like this when it spits out. We're going to call it Mike Shirt, put it in downloads. We will replace that. This. Yes, there's Mike Shirt, our good friend. And We're going to make these both 320 again, the size that we actually want this thing to do, and we're going to figure out how to clip it. So if I do this successfully, none of this should be shown here. And so here's what we're going to do. Actually, let's start with an experiment. I have two ideas for how to do this. Top 0, left 0 clip. So we need to create a clip. There it was. Okay. Let's see if I can get a Copilot to do it. A circular clip path tailwind rule. 100% border radius. Okay. Actually, there's a couple things we can do here. Let's show what happens when we do rounded full. So that's one. Now we have a full round border that is the size of the outside of the image. I can showcase that if you imagine, here, let's take this rule off. So as a square, it looks like that. And if I give this back rounded full, it's basically going to put a whole circle around the entire image of me, which is not what we want. Rounded full, hit save, see it's doing that. And so instead of that, we can do this, clip path, and we want circle 50% at 50%, 50%, which is okay, but I actually think this width is what's hurting us. So actually, you know what it is? We'll let the image be its full height. We need to put this inside of another div that looks like the one that we're using for the background color. So I'm going to copy these styles. And my absolute and left and top. We're starting to get closer. We don't want that rounded full there. Okay. Just to show what's happening here, let's do BG red. It didn't do what I expected it to. Red 600, there we go. Okay, so now on this div, we're going to give it a clip path. Hey, look at that, we're getting somewhere. Okay, that has a clip path of what we wanted, but now we need to inset this thing. So we're going to do P-6. I'm getting smaller. M-6. Getting better. Oops. Not quite what I wanted. P-10. Okay, let's show what's happening here. So here, a few things. CSS clip path. What clip path does in CSS is it creates a clipping region based on a bunch of possible syntaxes. We are doing, in this case, 50% at 50%, 50%, which is saying circle, so a 50% circle at basically starting at the center point of the thing. I think that is equivalent to doing this, circle 50%. Circle 40%? Okay. That's what I was after, 38%. So we want this circle to align with the other circle, and we'll start with a percent, but I think we're ultimately going to use pixels here. Circle 42%. And what we really want to do is pop into the Figma here and grab the radius of this circle, which would be measurable if we do it like so. Do like that, and then shrink it in. And that circle is going to be, we'll call it there, 264 pixels. And if I come back to my browser and do 264 pixels, that is not what I was expecting. 200 pixels. No. 50 pixels? Why are those numbers not matching up? That is unexpected. There's a scale thing happening here that I'm not quite understanding. Maybe it's this padding. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Don't really understand the size here. So that's kind of what we want, right? This is what we're looking at. We want the bottom of this to be a circular clip path, and then the top to be a clear clip path. So we've got some work ahead to do that. I don't understand what's going on with the pixel sizes here, if I'm being honest. We will probably figure that out in time. Let's do some inspection in the browser here to see what these actually look like. So that's a 320 by 320 image. Maybe, oh, wait, 136 times 2, 272? What did we say was the actual radius of this? 264, okay. 264 divided by 2, 132 pixels. I think that's actually what's happening. This circle rule is a radius. If we provide pixels there, let's take a look. So, circle using a radius and a position. Okay. Yes, okay. So I thought I was using diameter, we're using radius. So this should be half of the height of this thing. So it'll be half of the height of the inset circle that we want, which we could do with absolutes. What is closest? Closest side. Oh, that's interesting. Farthest side, closest side. Neat. Okay. This uses radius of the circle. Okay. So I've got this by radius. I think I just kind of measured it inexactly. So if we go up to 133, then 135, it's kind of closer to what we want, but I think 134 is about happy. We can then take this radius and double it and use it for the height and width of this background circle ultimately too. It'd be 134 times 2 is 268. Those should start to add up a bit. No borders on any of these guys. Okay, let's go back to our clip path. So what we actually want is a clip path that is a little more complicated than just a circle. Box and shape values combined. So we want the bottom half of the clip to be a semicircle and the top to be a rectangle. Let's see how far we can get with Copilot on that. That's an interesting question. see where we go with this. Hey. That ain't right. That's a polygon. So this is saying start at 0, 0, 100%, 0, 100%, 50%. We need to like combine patterns there. Which is a fun challenge. Let's see. You know what? So we can actually just make an SVG to do that. Clip path units. Yeah, awesome. Okay, let's do that. We'll do it with an SVG. I'm into it. And that's nice because we have Figma at our disposal, so we can make a clip path of our choosing like this. So let's say we wanted this unified thing to be our clip path. We will take these and merge them, union these guys. So now I have a shape that essentially represents where I want to clip. So this is like, the background will be this purple thing, and anything that sort of goes past that background in the top half we'll allow, and the bottom half we'll clip it out. We can see here that this circle should probably be a smidgen bigger. So let's go there. Okay, I like that. I'm going to export this as an SVG. And we'll call it clip path.svg. We're going to come in here, open a new file, dump that clip path SVG into here, and make it just like we saw in the browser there. So we can do SVG clip path and then path. No fills for any of this. My path shouldn't have a clip rule or a fill on it, really. There we go. So I'm going to get rid of my height and width here. And maybe even my view box. I don't know. We'll go with the most basic possible structure here. So this is saying, let's read this. So this is really kind of some gross stuff. AC is defining a circle, an arc, and a circle, which I guess would be how you make a heart. And I don't speak SVG too great, but we can, let's see what we get with this. So I'm going to copy this and use this as my clip path. URL of my path using the following clip path definition. Let's see. So let's do HTML clip path SVG. Oh, Sarah Sedan, perfect. Code for the clip path looks like this. Nice. Okay, so I think we can do that like this, where we would have a render a clip path guy here. Clip path, we'll give our clip path an ID. Let's see what the final code for this guy looks like. Oh, there's live demos for these. That's lovely. Okay, let's see what the code actually looks like. Okay, truly, it is just an SVG on the page. So we're going to do ID equals profile clip path. Actually, we'll call it portrait clip. Okay, love it. And then here, where we had our clip path defined, we're going to clip path URL. Let's mouse this bad boy back open. Come into here. Stop. Did that just work? I think that just worked. What the hell? That worked way faster than I thought it was gonna. That means that we can change this color to have a different background. Oh, no, that's the text. Okay. We'll change the background color. I am wildly excited that that worked. That's crazy talk. Okay, background hex, right, that's this guy here. We'll do good old FCO, nice yellow. Damn, that's cool as hell. Look at that. That's super cool. Okay. Damn, that's cool. Wow. I'm going to take a sip on that one. That's good. Hey, Gaurav, how are you? Thanks for joining. Ooh, looks like my chat isn't really coming through on the stream, but I promise you I have responded, my friend. That's super cool. Okay. And now we can provide a, let's see, I'm going to rename this hex to be BG circle hex. Then we'll do const text overlay hex. And let's replace this with that. Nice. And so if I wanted that to be a nice gray, I could do 222, get a dark one, I could do 888, get a lighter one. I can't believe that just worked. That's crazy talk. Damn, that's cool as hell. Okay. Just for giggles, let's plumb in a different picture there. So amazing. I have a few other pictures on here that we could use. Let's open up Sketch again. I'm going to drag in my headshots I've got in my downloads folder. We'll use MatPat from whatever it's called, Video Game Theorists. Recently retired. Good for him too, by the way. So I believe requirements here are that we need to trim this thing to be a rectangle. So we're gonna frame this thing like that. We'll bring these in so that it is square-ish. 416, and then we're gonna drag this up to be, that's 375. So we're saying this is wider than it is tall. Okay. Okay, let's do it. I'm excited about this. I hope this works the way I expect it to. Okay, export selected. We'll call it MatPat. Pop that into downloads. We're gonna, I have other tests I want to do with this. This is super fun. I'm into it. All right, let's replace Mike Shirt with MatPat. And if this works, what it means is that I now have a component that looks like a stylizable thing. So let's replace Mike Shirt with MatPat. Oh, that's sick. I'm so excited about that. Damn, that worked really well. What the hell? Yeah, okay. Into it. Wow. All right. So let's do one other thing I want to try is to automatically extract green screen color from it. So let's grab one that looks like a realistic green screen headshot. We'll grab, man, some of these look like a little too edited. Let's try this one. That looks like a reasonable green screen. Like it's rare you take a green screen photo and you get a perfect color behind, and some of these look a little too perfect, right? Like that's all the same color, so it's that. So I want something that's not not a green screen photo, that is photoshopped. We're gonna clip her to be, oops, oh, come on. There we go, that's what I wanted, okay. Clip her to be rectangular, square. So we will 1500 by 1500. And then we'll start to bring this in around her shoulders. Okay, we're gonna spit her out. We'll call this green screen photog. There we go. And so when I pull this one in, she will not look good by default. I think there's some things we can do with that with some more fancy CSS stuff. So let's change out matpat for green screen photog. We'll hit save, and we should see her with all that horrific green there. We do. That's okay. I think we can do style equals, oh, oops, CSS screen blend mode. Mix blend mode screen, yeah. Yeah. So one of these blend modes will help us to pull out that background color. I want to say it's screen. I'm not positive. Let's see what CSS Tricks has to say here. Man, this poor site got absolutely destroyed by its acquisition. Oh, that's really sad. Exclusion. Multiplies the background and then screen multiplies the background and the content then complements the result. This will result in content which is brighter than the background color. Multiplies or screens the content depending on the background color. Let's see if there's a I guess this is not what I wanted. CSS remove green screen. Let's see. This is what I'm talking about. Mix blend mode multiply. Let's try that. Didn't seem to do much. So let's read this a little more closely. So this is an image, class item. This is a terrible tutorial. Okay, let's see. Solid background color such as white is black. Check out this article. So if your article is linking to something more useful, I don't know, man. Multiplies the element's color with that of the background. Dark and lighten. Color dodge, color burn, hard light, soft light, difference, exclusion. Let's try. You know what? We can do this in here. What's cool is you can definitely see my CSS mask working here. I'm into that. Oops. I'm going to use a funny trick of seem to be doing what I want. Okay. Mix blend mode. Yeah, none of these are doing what I'm expecting here. Okay, so the hard requirement for us might then be to just use an image with a transparent background, which is doable. Let's see what that looks like with the same image, just to make sure it just kind of continues to work there. I'm pretty sure there's a way to do what I want with CSS. I'll have to go do some research about that. Funny thing about green screen too is you get all these green hues like in the wispy edges of the hair, which, you know, these days there are lots of tools to get rid of that. But if we put in a green screen GSP, sure. Let's see the difference. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. There's a little bit of offness here with the background, so maybe we want to increase this slightly, right? Like there's some alignment stuff going on there. That looks really nice. Okay. And then what happens if we want to adjust where her position is? So let's do margin top. This should move her down a bit. Yep. Yep. Oh, that's so cool. So, all right, man, I'm super into this. So we can build a whole UI around this that adjusts this up and down. What I want to test next is if this will actually export with Satori. So cool. This is so cool. I like building stuff like this. I'm into it. So ultimately what we need to store for exporting a image URL string, name string. We would have a height, or we'll call it Y, number, X number, those will kind of be the offsets. And width, height, BG, color, text color. I think this is what we would need to spit out a portrait. And so we could have a bunch of portraits like this. We could honestly have variants, so we could do like maybe this would be just BG color and text color like that. Is forbidden. And so this is what a portrait would look like. And we would have a component that is like portrait. Equals something like this, where we would pass in a something like that. Then we pass in the image URL to the source. We do, yeah, this is, you can kind of see how this becomes a component on its own. That's a nice background. Is going to be the first variance hex. Maybe that's a little too complicated. And maybe we'd have default variant. Yeah. Can I do variance 0? Does that work? this dot, nah. It's a fun idea though. There, something like that. This is cool. All right, I think this is a good place to call it for the day. We have just generated, I got way deeper on one thing than I thought I was going to. But what have we done? We have a component which lets us put some metadata into, where are we expecting a semicolon? Bring it back, I've broken it all, oh no. What have I done? Const user portrait. Oh, I see, it's gone and done a whole thing for me here. We'll extract these into their own thing. So we can pass an image into an HTML thing. It generates the sort of portrait type that we want. Now all we have to do is pipe this into Satori, and it should generate an image that looks just like this for any of the people we pass in. That's super tidy. I really like that a lot. Yeah, okay, so what I'll probably do is follow up this bit of work. Maybe I'll do another stream tomorrow where I actually take this and componentize it and then spit it out to Satori, which shouldn't be too hard. There's loads of stuff we would want to do from this. Like you can see how we might want to compose this portrait thing that I've just created with the other things that we want to output. Right, like my portrait and my profile. This is like an email signature. We might have on craftwork.com, we have our crew that shows up here, which use portraits like that. So if I scroll down sufficiently far enough, we get all the crew here. These are all images. So this is one image. It might be nice to generate these or to make this a component that is a portrait, some text, and some text and metadata. Which is all kind of like makes sense from here. We can all make that happen. So, okay, let me call it here for the day. Hey, thanks for hanging out. If you were hanging out, I'm going to go tidy this up and get it committed to some code somewhere, and maybe tomorrow we'll pick it up and turn it into a more componentable thing. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great day.